Hey, this is Chris, and in this video I'm going to do a reaction video to Laurenlovescarbs. She did a video on gluconeogenesis and exogenous carbohydrates, so we're going to have a look at that.
The answers to most of the questions that people have are quite simple. And when they are given this simple and truthful answer, it simply isn't enough for most people. They need it to be complicated, elaborate, confusing, because that's how most information is delivered to us these days, through social media, through conflicting documents, through conflicting scientific studies that are promoted by and financed by different companies.
Yeah, like how the sugar industry financed and promoted and paid off 3 Harvard professors to falsify studies showing that sugar, that it was fat, not sugar, that was related to heart disease. Just like that, yeah.
And lobbyists and people that want to control the narrative.
I'll show that on the screen again. Check out my video on the sugar diet and all that. And another thing is that the food industry as well pays influencers, I'll put a picture up, like social media influencers on TikTok, on Instagram, etc., to promote diet soda, sugar, and stuff like supplements and all.
So most information that we take in from the world is quite confusing. That when you are presented with something that is so simple, sugar, fruit, water, starch, high carb, low fat, plant-based, sugar-focused lifestyle, that simply cannot be it.
Well, it's going to lead to malnourishment. So if you're eating like plant-based, like she said, then you're going to be missing in like B12, B6, and you're missing some of the fat-soluble vitamins as well, and the fatty acids. So you're missing actually the omega-3s, the EPA and DHA, because the preformed omega-3, not ALA, because that doesn't get converted well in the body. I'm going to put it up on the screen. That doesn't get converted well in the body into EPA and DHA, especially DHA. And then vitamin D, vitamin A, you can't get that as well because that's beta carotene. It doesn't convert well into retinol. Retinol comes from the word retina for your eye, in your eye, the retina, like we talked about before. It doesn't convert well in the body into retinol. K2 as well, that's another one. And that's a preformed version, K2. There's K1 in plant foods, that doesn't convert well. Iron as well, that's another one, because the plants have non-heme iron. You want heme iron that you can only find in animal foods.
That simply cannot be it.
Confusing.
You will lose fat on this diet whether you work out or not.
Is it about losing fat just? Because you lose a lot of things, you lose muscle as well. So this is about like losing fat. Is that what it's just about the diet? Because you lose fat a number of ways, not just from following this specific diet, the sugar diet. And actually in the sugar diet, it's actually showing that because of the protein restriction that people lose fat.
Will you be leaner and more physically fit and
Yeah, but leaner and physically fit, like physically fit, that's not got to do with just diet though. Your muscles grew better if you're following the keto diet or a low carb diet in general. Your muscles grow better. I'll put up something here on the screen, okay, just showing that it takes time to adapt though. There's a guy called Tim Noakes, okay, he's a South African exercise physiologist and sports medicine researcher. And he noticed that, he even claimed at the beginning, oh, it's better to follow a high carb diet, and then later he actually said, actually no, it's better to follow a low carb diet. In his book Law of Running, that was the more carbs the better, but then later he actually corrected it. There's a study, like the faster study in 2015, that showed that like people on a low carb high fat diet, okay, their fat oxidation rates over 2 times higher than carb athletes, high carb athletes, okay. And the muscle glycogen and replenishment, okay, you're saying, oh, but they wouldn't be able to replenish the muscle glycogen and all afterwards, but it still worked, and the glycogen wasn't broken, okay, on low carb diets. The VO2 max was similar between the groups.
Have more effective weight loss if you are
Weight loss, though, but is that indicated? Like, is it, what are you losing? Is it water weight? Fat? Fat? Is it fat? If it's not fat, then what is it? Maybe it's muscle that you're losing. Bone density. What is it that you're losing?
moving. Yes. The human body is not meant to be sedentary all day. The human body is meant to move. So I spend not a lot of time figuring out what I'm going to eat throughout a day.
Wow.
I would say that I see a lot of themes on social media that focus on this thing, like, especially in the millennial section of social media, is that, oh, I thought being an adult was going to be so great, but really it's just me trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to eat that day. Because first of all, most people get a lot of pleasure from eating because they are looking for this very stimulating, very salty, very lots of ingredients mixed together, protein, fat, carbohydrates, all put into one meal, instead of just having the simple food every single day. When I tell you that I'm having potatoes and rice every day, I'm having potatoes and rice every day. I think today I'm going to take a break from it and have some pasta for the first time in a few.
Oh, wow. That's so nutrition dense. Full of sugar, just really poor on your...
But it's been a while. I go through phases where I have something until I'm sick of it, and then I just move on to another starch that's very low fat, and I don't add any oil, I don't add excessive salt, and I don't add any cheese or meat to this. I am just having fruits, vegetables, sugar, any kind of source of sugar. I'll have maple syrup, I'll have jam, I'll have white sugar, I'll have fruit. It doesn't matter. It's all the same molecular structure, and your body uses it all.
Yeah, she's right about that. It is all the same molecular structure. They're all the same molecular structure. Just because it says simple or complex doesn't matter.
All the same. When people say that having a glass of orange juice is the same thing as having a Coca-Cola, like Primal Bod will tell you, she is right. And the essence, it doesn't matter the source of sugar. All sugar is recognized in your body the exact same way. Your body is not stupid like most of the advertising that's out here that says, oh, sugar's a poison and sugar's bad.
Yeah, it is though. Sugar's a drug, and we're going to get into that if she mentions anything about, because she's obviously going to mention exogenous carbohydrates and gluconeogenesis, because in the title. So when she mentions that, then we'll get into that and talk about it.
For you, like, sugar is the reason why all of your cells run. Sugar is the reason why you are alive.
Yeah, but that's not from drinking it or eating it. It's you saying, oh, you should eat that because it's already in your body. But you don't want the extra sugar in your body, okay? Because your body knows how much sugar to produce itself, okay? So that way your blood sugar stays stable. But if you start adding more, okay, gluconeogenesis, which she's going to talk about probably, if you, through the process which we're going to explain, your blood sugar can stay stable because your body knows how much to produce. But if you start eating much more, then that's not indicated because you don't want the extra sugar. And we're going to go into detail more about that now. We should probably start talking about it now.
It doesn't matter what you eat, everything breaks down into glucose. So
yeah, exactly. So whether it's complex or simple carbs, they all break down into glucose. Okay, so whether it has like fiber or whatever, it doesn't matter. They all break down to glucose. And one is a bit slower at breaking down, but they all break down in the end. It's the same thing. The US Food and Nutrition Board in 2005, okay, they said in a textbook, that the lower limit of carbohydrates is 0. So you don't need any carbohydrates because there's no essential carbohydrates.
Why put your body through the extra stress of having that protein, having that fat, for all of it to just turn into glucose anyway? Why wouldn't you just stick straight to the source? And
she's just assuming that it causes more stress in your body by having protein and fat, but you need them. We'll go into more now in a second. Let's just see what she says first.
Leave all that stuff behind. It is so much simpler, it is so much easier, and it's so much better for your organs, your brain, your heart, everything, for your blood flow, for your sensitivity towards insulin, for everything. For you preventing any diseases, you are going to want to follow a high-carb, low-fat, sugar-focused, plant-based diet. Some kind of movement that includes you caring about what the heck you do with your day, and that means getting things done that you need to get done. Whether it be work, whether it be around the house, whether it be in your relationships, whatever it is that you need to get done, you're going to need to have carbohydrates to do it. And
that's just an opinion. There's no proof of that. Now, she could provide proof that you need carbs to get those things done. Of course, if you want to have a little bit of carbs here and there, that's fine, yeah, but it's not needed for those functions that she's talking about there. And we're going to go into more detail if she starts talking about it now.
That's the simple fact that most people miss because they would rather be bamboozled than told that they've been bamboozled, right? Like, it's so easy to fool somebody, but to convince somebody that they have been fooled, they will be so resistant to that and so defensive towards that. I do not waste my time trying to think about what I'm going to eat. I do not waste my time trying to think that I'm smarter than how my body works. I am physiologically set up to run on sugar and carbohydrates. I do not...
Really, that's not how we have been eating for the majority of the time. Okay? Of course, in fruit season, you might have eaten a bit more. Okay? But even then, they're full of seeds, fruit was. If you look at ancestral bananas, ancestral apples, ancestral watermelons, anything really. Even avocados, which aren't that sweet, of course, but they used to even have a big stone, even bigger one than they have now. All those fruits, they were a lot different than they are now. Some of them didn't even exist. Some of them had loads and loads of season, and they had very little fruit flesh. So she's saying, oh, it's naturally getting all this. Plants were different in general. Vegetables, they're very toxic, so you wouldn't have got any carbohydrates out of them because they're very toxic. They've crossbred them and detoxified them enough to put them into supermarkets so that you can buy them in the supermarket now.
I fight that. I honor that, and I give my body what it actually wants. And I don't stress it out with gluconeogenesis, which is every frickin' carnivore and keto's favorite word ever.
Yeah, you see, she doesn't understand it. That's why. Even if you do eat sugar, your body's still going to use that biochemical process, gluconeogenesis. So you looked at like 85% people, men that ate 85% carbohydrates, sorry. Their macronutrients was 85% of their macronutrients was made up of carbohydrates. Then they looked at like 44% and 2%. Gluconeogenesis was about 14% higher after the very low carbohydrate diet. So it's only 14% more, okay? There's only 14% disparity. So it doesn't matter whether you eat a high carbohydrate or low carbohydrate, there's going to be only 14% more in the low carbohydrate. So your liver will produce the glucose whether you eat carbohydrates or not. That's the whole point. So her saying, oh, it's a very stressful thing. Your liver's still going to produce new glucose molecules either way. Okay, there's not a massive change that your body's going to produce, it's not like as if it shuts off gluconeogenesis or that's a bad thing, gluconeogenesis. That it's there in your body. It's not a bad thing, it's a biochemical process which is going to run either way, whether you eat carbohydrates or not. The fact that we have that process in our body, that biochemical process, to be able to do that. We don't have that in our body for fats, that process. We don't have that process in our bodies to make our own protein. So we don't have the process to make our own protein. We don't have that process to make our own fat, but we do have the process to make carbs because we don't need carbs. That's why we have that process in our body, because we need this essential protein, like the amino acids, there's essential fatty acids, but there's no essential carbohydrates. Because we've got that process. That's why we have that ability. And again, it's not a very stressful one. It might raise your cortisol a little bit, but that doesn't mean that it's a stressful event necessarily. And that, now, if it's chronically high, chronically elevated cortisol, then maybe that would be a problem. But again, even if you do eat carbohydrates and eat a large amount of carbohydrates, you're still going to have gluconeogenesis. You're still going to use protein or glycerol or lactate to produce glucose. That's why we have that in our body.
This is extra steps and it's extra minerals coming from your bones.
extra steps, but those steps will be there anyway. That's the whole point. So we'll stop the video there. If you're stuck on anything and if you want to get to the next stage, just say if you're following like a carnivore low carb diet, then hit me up, okay, on Instagram, okay, Healthier Now Chris, and just send the message ready, READY, and DM me that on Instagram, and we can talk then, okay? Do a free call and just see where you're at, see your sticking points, or if you want to get started on the diet or anything, we can talk about that. If you want any more of this content like this, then make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.